Thank you. Welcome to Thursday Night Football with Calvin Dean, sponsored by the NFL Network. Wow, do we have a show for you today? Yes, we have some great games going on in Week 10. Last week, wow. If you were listening last week, my two upsets, I had the Kansas City Chiefs being upset by the Carolina Panthers. If you were bet on that game, you would have won in a major way. Same with the New England Patriots and the New York Football Jets. I had the Jets beating New England that game as well, but if you were a betting person, once again, you would have won because the New England Patriots were giving them 4.5 points. So both games, if you're listening to my podcast in the last 5 weeks, I have called upsets, and more upsets. First off, let's go over the power rankings, the top 10 in the power rankings. Calvin Dean's top 10 power rankings in the NFL. I'm going number 10. I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals with Kyler Murray. I'm telling you, that kid will win the MVP of the year. That kid is just lights out. I tell you, Kingsbury has asked running back Chase Edmonds to convert the first downs. Chase Edmonds, great. He has really turned into a really great running back. And I'm telling you, this Cardinal team, great team. They got beat by the Miami Dolphins last week, 34-31. Hey, Miami's on fire with Tua. Miami's right there. But I really think that the Cardinals deserve the number 10 spot. The number 9 spot, I'm going with Mr. Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though they got just crushed last week by the Saints. Looked terrible, but I'm giving them number 9 spot. Number 8 spot is going to go with the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are for real. And the 7th spot, I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks, even though they lost to the Buffalo Bills, who are for real. The Josh Allen, he is just remarkable. What a great talent he is. And, it just hats off. The next spot would be number 6. And that's going to go with the Green Bay Packers. I'm going with the number 5. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. Top four power rankings in the NFL. Calvin Dean's top 4, guys. This is huge. Top 4. Who slips into the top 4 this week? The Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills showed they are for real last week, guys. For real. I'm telling you, they're 7-2. Buffalo Bills, top 4. I have the 3rd ranked team. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were down by 13 points to the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys power ranking is 31 in the league, guys. 31st in the league out of 32 teams. Hello. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were 13 points down. They barely beat the Dallas Cowboys. Boo on you. I'm sorry. You're number 3. I have number 2. The New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints looked like world beaters last week with Tampa. Their defense looked great. They had Brady. They were in Brady's face all game long. And Taysom Hill accounted for 123 yards of offense as a passer and a receiver and a rusher. The guy is he's a one-man wrecking crew. Hats off to the New Orleans Saints. Hats off. I'm telling you something. They're for real. They're number 2. And, of course, number 1 power ranking I'm giving to the Kansas City Chiefs. They barely won Carolina. Now, I predicted Carolina to upset the Chiefs last week. Mind you, if you were betting on that game, you would have listened to my podcast. You would have won a lot of money. A lot of money. And same thing with the New England Patriots-Jets game. The New England Patriots were given 4.5 points to the Jets. And they only won by 3. and I told everyone that the Jets would upset them. So that's another game you would have won if you would have been listening to my podcast. So isn't that great, guys? If you listen to my podcast, I'm serious, you're going to win a lot of money, and let's go to the schedule this week. COVID, people, COVID. Let's talk a little COVID. The NFL came out yesterday and they announced that they have plans just in case we don't finish out the season. If there's a week that we miss, they're going to go to 16 games, 16 teams going into the playoffs instead of 17. So it's a little different, So this COVID pandemic is just everyone's affected by this, and 140,000 people in the United States yesterday were tested positive. More people have been dying, close to 2,000 people dying a day now. That's just terrible. So keep safe, people. It's Thanksgiving. I know it's Thanksgiving. You want to do something. You want to go out and go to your friends or family, immediate family only. Just stay home. Do us all a favor. We want the whole nation to open up, but we cannot open up if we keep having these large gatherings and going without masks and going without social distancing. People, listen to science. And congratulations to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for winning the presidency. Last week we did not know. My last Thursday night podcast, we did not know. It was still up in the air, but we do know now. Congratulations to President-elect Biden and great election. And I'm telling you something, more people voted in this election than ever before. I'm excited about that because, the mail-in voting is just phenomenal. Of course, each state we're going to be getting better at counting, but this is the first time that this many people have counted, especially mail-in voting. And hats off to all the states for counting and keeping it on hand and without any fraud. Thank you to all the attorney generals out there. Thank you, and thank you. Completely enjoyed it, and we praise you. We praise all of you, all the voters. Your vote was heard, and let's just go on with it and go on. Let's start Week 10 with the Indianapolis Colts going into Tennessee playing the Titans. The Titans 6-2, the Colts 5-3. Colts lost last week to the Baltimore Ravens. I called that game, but the Colts did not give up a touchdown pass in the air, pass by Lamar Jackson last week, and they held him to 170 yards in rushing. And I'm telling you, it was one of those grind out games, and the Tennessee Titans, they won last week, and Titans look like world beaters, but on the other hand, the Colts defense is just stout, and the Titans, I'm telling you, this is going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. The way the Colts play, it is outdoors. The Colts are an indoor team, but they're a good team. So I'm going to give this game to the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to pull a mild upset and beat the Tennessee Titans in this game. The next game is this Sunday, and hats off to the Masters. Hey, did you hear Tiger Woods shot 4 under first day? Tiger Woods 4 under today. Amazing. Hats off to Tiger Woods. And let's go to November 15th on Sunday. We have the Eagles going into MetLife Stadium. The New York Giants looking like the Giants of old. I'm telling you, the Eagles 3-4-1 going into MetLife at 2-7. The Giants are playing a much better football. And the Eagles, the Giants-Eagles, this is such a tough game. I mean, the Giants are playing better football, guys. They just are. Daniel Jones playing better football. Carson Wentz. He just finds a way to win. Once again, I'm giving the visiting team the win on this one. Just like the Indianapolis Colts visiting the Titans, I'm giving the Eagles over the New York Football Giants. Wow, that's going to be a fun game to watch. Then we have the 1-7 Jags going into Green Bay at Lambeau Field. The Green Bay Packers. Wow. And they're going to have Aaron Jones back. Aaron Jones will be back in the saddle at Green Bay. I mean, they're going to have all their players back. It's not going to be a contest. It's just not going to be a contest. Green Bay in this one. We have the New York, we have the Washington football team going into the Detroit Lions 3-5, Washington football team 2-6. Ugly. I mean, the Lions are a better team. Lions are going to beat the Washington football team in this one. Lions will end up 4-5 after this game. The next game, we have the Houston Texans going into the Browns. The Browns are for real, guys. The Browns are for real. And they're 5-3. And they've had their week off. Kareem Hunt will be back in the saddle. This game is definitely going to be a Cleveland Brown win in this game. Watson might keep it close with Fuller, and Duke Johnson is going to be starting for the running back in this one. If you have Fuller, Watson, or even Duke Johnson, that's a sleeper pick for fantasy football. The Browns in this one over the Houston Texans. The next game, bounce back, Brady time. We have the Buccaneers going into the Panthers. Panthers almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs last week. I had the Panthers over to the Chiefs. And like I said, if you were a betting person, you would have won that game. If you would have been listening to me, you would have won, and you would have won a lot of money. We have the Buccaneers. They're going to bounce back. It's just, I don't know. They just didn't show up against the New Orleans Saints. Plus, New Orleans plays, out of their minds. The Panthers are no New Orleans Saints, and plus the Panthers are going to be without McCaffrey. They still have Davis. They still have a good team. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be back and forth. The Buccaneers are going to take this game. The Buccaneers over the Panthers in Carolina. The next game, we have the 2-6 Chargers going into the Miami Dolphins 5-3. Miami Dolphins are going to be favored in this game. Tua looks great. I'm telling you, the Miami Dolphins look great. But, we have Heber. I'm going to give an upset on this one. I think the Chargers are going to upset the Miami Dolphins in this one. Heber is going to go nuts out of his mind. And the Los Angeles Chargers will beat the Miami Dolphins in this game. I have the Denver Broncos 3-5 going into Las Vegas, playing the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a tough game. I mean, the Broncos, the last two games have been just coming on and winning near the end. But, they ended up short last week. But I'm telling you, the Broncos, Drew Lock looks great, doesn't he? And that defense came to life. But, they've just been starting out very slow lately. I think they're going to turn Melvin Gordon up a notch this game. The Denver Broncos are going to upset the Las Vegas Raiders. Yes, the Denver Broncos are going to upset the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. And Melvin Gordon's going to have a huge game. Wow, this next game is like the game of the week. This is the game of the week. You have the Buffalo Bills 7-2 going into the Cardinals 5-3. Now the Cardinals just got beat by the Miami Dolphins last week in Miami. They were in Arizona, and this is going to be once again in Arizona. Boy, I'm telling you, I don't see Kingsbury losing 2 in a row. But on the other hand, Buffalo Bills looked like world beaters last week. They just rolled over the Seattle Seahawks. Their defense came alive last week. They were stopping the Seattle Seahawks. They had Russell Wilson on the run. They hit him out of his element. And they have another Russell Wilson wannabe, right, with Kyler Murray. Not a wannabe, but he's just as good, maybe even better than Russell Wilson. Not at this point in his career, but he's getting there. And then you have Josh Allen. Josh Allen he's all world. That kid is great, and he's a great runner as well. This is a tough game. The way that Buffalo Bills played last week, out of their mind, beating the Seattle Seahawks, and then the Cardinals beat the Seattle Seahawks as well. Wow. I mean, this is a real tough game to call. I mean, really, really tough game to call. I'm going to give this to the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to give the Buffalo Bills will be 8-2 after the end of this game, and the Cardinals will end up 5-4. This is a tough game for the Cardinals after their loss against Miami. They needed to win against Miami. They really that was a gift that they had to play the Miami Dolphins after being off a week, and they lost. That's sad. The next game, you have the 49ers 4-5 going into the Saints 6-2. I mean, come on. Really? The New Orleans Saints, they're all world against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, mind you, will they have a setback? Will something like that happen? You are playing the San Francisco 49ers. They are not a lay-down team. They're a good running team as well. Now, the Saints, on the other hand, they're a good team. They're a very, very good team. And I don't know. I don't know how this is going to pan out. But I do know one thing, that the home team is definitely going to do well in this game. And they have Thomas. They have everyone back for the Saints. And they don't have Jimmy G. I don't see the San Francisco 49ers keeping up. It's going to be a close game. They'll keep it close. The Saints in this one over the 49ers. Sorry, Nikki, up in San Francisco. But your Saints are going to Saints are going to win, and your 49ers unfortunately are going to lose. Wow, 6-2 Seahawks going into the Los Angeles Rams Stadium at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Of course, there's no fans in Los Angeles. Gorgeous stadium. Great football team, the Rams. The Seattle Seahawks coming off a loss against the Buffalo Bills. That was a hard game for the Seahawks. And then the Rams were off for a week. They're back. This is going to be an interesting game. A lot of people are going to be picking the Seattle Seahawks in this game. I'm not one of them. I'm going to pick the Los Angeles Rams to beat the Seattle Seahawks in this game. Los Angeles will end up 6-3 at the end of this game, and the Seahawks will be 6-3 at the end of this game. I'm definitely going to pick the Rams. They had the week off. Henderson's going to go nuts on the ground. I think Goff is going to have a great game. The front four of the Rams defense is definitely going to step it up. Donald's going to have a couple sacks, but it's going to be a fun game. They're not going to stop Metcalf. Metcalf will have another huge game. But I think the Rams are definitely, it's going to be a shootout this game. I think it'll be a shootout. The Rams are going to prevail. Next game, you have the Cincinnati Bengals going into the Steelers. Wow. Now, 2-5-1 Cincinnati Bengals, 8-0 Steelers. The Steelers should win this game, but the Steelers have been playing terrible lately. Terrible football. Just terrible football. But their defense is definitely good. Joe Burrow is going to have he's going to be really hard to beat the Steelers defense. But, mind you, they're going to have Mixon back, Burrows, Mixon. I'm calling it. This is going to be the upset of the week. Upset of the week. The Cincinnati Bengals will beat the Steelers. The Steelers will have their first loss of the year. Cincinnati Bengals are going to go into the Pittsburgh Steelers stadium. They're going to beat Pittsburgh in their own stadium. Sad, but I think true. Then we have the Sunday night game of the Baltimore Ravens. not playing the best football, going into the New England Patriots 3-5. 3-5 Patriots just won. They just beat the New York Jets. New York Jets power ranking is 32nd out of 32 teams. And the Patriots just barely beat the Jets. Do you really think they're going to beat the Baltimore Ravens? Do you really think so? No. It's not going to happen. Baltimore's going to have a couple picks. They might even have a pick 6 in this game. It's going to be a no contest game. I don't even think the Patriots, they might have 3 points or 6 points, maybe 1 touchdown. I'm giving this Baltimore Ravens, they're just going to destroy the New England Patriots in this game. Sorry, New England Patriots fan. Baltimore Ravens by 17, 18, 20 points. It's going to be one of those blowout games. And that's what's going to happen. Baltimore Ravens in this game. Now, we have Monday Night Football. We have the Vikings flying high. 3-5 Vikings going into the Chicago Bears. And Chicago's defense, Miami. I mean, Chicago Bears, Miami, they just, I'm telling you something, it's something about the Chicago Bears, and I'm thinking the way they played against the Titans. I mean, they just didn't. I keep saying Miami, and they remind me of a little bit about Miami Dolphins. The Bears do. I mean, they're up and down, but their defense is it's okay. I mean, they got beat by the Titans last week. I called that game. Actually, I called the Bears to beat the Titans, but I don't know. The Bears just don't show up. They're just not showing up, people. They're just not showing up. And like I said, I think they remind me of the Miami Dolphins. That's what they remind me of. They're one game they're hot, one game they're not. And that's what I was trying to get at. That's for sure. I just don't see the Bears winning in this game. I just don't see them beating the Vikings. Vikings will be 4-5 at the end of this game. The Vikings will beat the Bears. The Bears will not stop Dalvin Cook. They'll try to flood the box, but then Cousins will pick them apart. And then the Chicago Bears do not have the offense to come back on the Vikings. The Vikings in this game by, I would say, 10, 12 points. Bears always keep it close, mind you. They're always keeping it close. This whole season they've kept it close. Think about it. I mean, all their games. Think of their first game was against the Lions. They should have lost when Swift dropped the pass in the end zone and with 6 seconds left. So they beat the Lions by 4 points, and then they came back the next week and beat the Giants by 4 points. And then they beat the Falcons by 4 points. And then they lost to the Colts by 8 points. And then they went in and they beat the Buccaneers by 1 point. And then they beat the Panthers by 4 points. See what's going on here? And then you have the Rams beating them by 2 touchdowns, right? And then the Saints only beating them by a field goal. And then you have the Titans beating them by a touchdown last week. So, they're always, that defense always keeps them in the game. I mean, how many games have they, when they win or when they lose, they're winning by, or they're losing by 3 points. Last week, they lost by 7 points. The only game that they wasn't close was the Rams game where they lost by 2 touchdowns. But every single game they've been keeping it close. Even when they won, they keep it close. So it's going to be one of those games tonight. It's going to be, on Monday Night Football, it's going to be a huge game for Monday Night Football. I think it'll be close. I said 12 points, the Vikings. I think they might, either it's going to be a 12-point game or like a 3-point game. Most likely, I think the Vikings, this will be the second game of the season that the Bears will lose by more than 4 points. And it's going to be this game. and it's going to be the Vikings over the Bears. So we have the Vikings over the Bears. We have the Ravens over the Pats. We have the upset special of the Cincinnati Bengals beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. We have the Rams over the Seattle Seahawks. We have the Saints over the 49ers. We have the Buffalo Bills beating the Arizona Cardinals. We have the Broncos beating the Las Vegas Raiders. And then we have the Chargers beating the Dolphins. Wow. We have the Buccaneers coming back and beating the Carolina Panthers. We have the Browns over the Houston Texans. We have the Lions over the Washington football team, the Green Bay Packers to beat the Jags. And we have the Philadelphia Eagles over the New York Football Giants. And tonight's game, Thursday Night Football, we have the Indianapolis Colts beating the Titans of Tennessee. Thank you so much, everyone. Stay safe out there. This is Calvin Dean with the Calvin Dean Show, sponsored by the NFL Network. Have a great day, and see you next week.